They can
hot
actually,
spots, if you
yes,
will.
hot spots, cold spots, anything like that. Changes in temperature. Really, it's actually kind of like reading the aura, because we all do have an aura around us or an energy around us. And there's sometimes where you can meet people, and if they're stressed or they're really busy in their life and they don't take time, you can actually feel almost a fragmentation of the energy around them. But it's
Before you were talking about spirits contacting people and saying that they're okay and that they've passed on, and you want the person to kind of not necessarily get over it, but realize that the person that's passed on is all right. Do they ever come and give any other kinds of messages besides that "I'm okay" message, whereas maybe they're talking about things in the future?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, what they do is the souls will actually follow you throughout your life. Say, for instance, I've had a lot of cases where people will come to see me and say they lost their mom when they were 22, and they were really upset because mom didn't see their wedding or their first baby, or where they went on their trip, say they went to Hawaii. What that mother will do, or that person coming through, will come in, and I try to hold them there for the whole session as best I can. There will be some other relatives that try to sneak through, because remember, it's like a one line, and they all try to grab on the line to talk through, but she'll talk about their wedding. She'll talk about the color of the dresses. She'll talk about the bridesmaid dresses. She'll talk about the groom. She'll talk about their trip to Hawaii. They will talk about things in your life that went on after they passed, which is kind of something new, which I'm seeing more and more, that the souls are letting you know that you might think I missed out on your children, but you didn't, because I know who you have, and I know that they're okay. And I know, if you have a boy or a girl, they will mention that sometimes. But a lot of the times, too, the souls will also talk about, they'll show me things. Like, for instance, they'll come through. I don't work with symbols as much. There might be some symbols that will come through. Like, I'll look at somebody and I will see books over their head. Or I'll see just them going to school, sitting at a desk studying. And that would be not really the psychic part of it, but the actual soul or the relative coming through letting you know what you're going to do. Or you will become a nurse, because they will show you with a nurse. They will show the person with the hat on, like a nursing hat, even though they don't wear them anymore. They show that. And then they'll
It's a symbol that someone would understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something has to be pretty clear, I would say, coming through for the person sitting there. But also, there's a lot that come through. During a session, you will get between 3 to 4 to 5 relatives coming through. But a lot of times when people come for family groups, they all want the same soul. The more people that come through for the same soul, the stronger it's going to be, too. Because there's a lot of love there. It's the love and the faith that draws them through. It's incredible how that works. It's very strong.
As we go to break, we're going to mention briefly something called apports. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Apports?
Apports.
Apports?
Apports.
Apples? What am I talking about here? This is something that we're going to focus more on in the next segment, but really what it is an opportunity for people to get actual physical, concrete signs like a pen or pennies or something like that coming from their loved ones.
Oh, yes, it's very possible. It's been proven. It's possible. It's comforting, and it's always something good that comes through.
More with Elizabeth Herrington when we return. Keep it here. You're watching Filmcast Tonight. Part 3 now of our sit-down with spiritual medium Elizabeth Herrington. As we went to break, we were talking about signs from the other side, specifically metal. It seems that they're really popular to give metal items to children a lot of times.
Could be children, could be adults, but children are very, very attuned to spirit because they haven't been over here that long. Animals and children will tend to recognize these things, and they will even get communications from a relative or see or even talk to a relative, even when they're really, really little. But when it comes to metal apports, coins are very popular. You were mentioning spoons that you've experienced. That's very popular. Even different things that will come through. A lot of times, too, you will find the coins that come through in spaces in the home where they frequented a lot before they passed, or where you frequent a lot, where it means a lot to you, like at a desk that you sit at a lot, or even at grave sites. They will leave things. And feathers are also very popular. Flowers sometimes will come through. Different things like that, but they always come through when you're grieving the most. And it's something that usually happens a lot within the first 2 years after their passing.
Just shifting gears here for a moment, I do want to make sure we mention Elizabeth's chat, which is coming up on the James Van Prague website, May 2nd in the evening sometime, we think around 9 o'clock or so. We're going to be talking, or actually I should say you're going to be talking and chatting about premonitions. Can you go into detail about that a little bit?
Yes, actually, it's amazing how I'm always learning, too, in this type of work from people that come to see me. A lot of people have been speaking about when they lose a loved one within, like, it could be 10 years, 5 years, even 2 years or 2 months before a loved one passes, that they've had some type of indication or trapdoors of knowledge from spirit to prepare their soul in order for their loved one that's going to pass or transition over to spirit. And they will have things like visions, or they'll dream, or they'll have some significant thing will happen to them where it kind of gives them kind of the feeling, like subconsciously and even a little bit consciously, that they're going to lose that loved one. And then after that loved one passed, they think back on it and they're thinking, oh my word, it was all right there. It's amazing.
That and near-death experiences, another popular topic that you seem to get a lot from people.
Yes, it seems to be more of the trend where there's a lot of people that will come to see me and say their husband. I can give you an example. I won't use names,
Sure.
but an example. I had a woman who came to see me, and she was talking about her husband. He had to have a bypass, and he was on the operating table, and he died. They lost him, and they were trying to revive him back. Well, what happened to him is while he was dead, he actually did see the light. He talks about the light, and a lot of people, this has been a trend, a lot of people seem to see the same thing and talk about the same thing after they pass. It's kind of like a trend. But her husband went over, and he got to a certain point, and he saw relatives that had passed before him, and they said, no, it's not your time. You have to go back. And when he was over there, she was telling me, this is his wife, was telling me that, he really didn't want to come back. It was so beautiful and it was so peaceful, but they were told, you're not done your lessons here in this world yet. So what happened was they brought him back, they revived him, he was great. 3 months later, the man came down with pancreatic cancer and struggled and suffered for like 2 years with this. I mean, it was very long drawn out. And then he finally passed. So his wife was kind of chuckling like, well, I guess when it's not your time, it's not your time. But the thing is, the comforting part of this whole message is that it seems like a lot of people are experiencing the same peaceful, loving, almost a feeling of completeness when they're actually going through this tunnel. But a lot of times when they come back, it almost feels like, oh my gosh, I have to come back. I have a lot more things to learn. And it seems like this is more the difficult place than over there. But that seems to be very passionate. People seem to talk about that a lot lately.
Does it matter what someone's faith is, whereas somebody might be a devout Christian, someone might be Jewish, and someone might not have any faith at all? Is that end result pretty much the same across the board?
I would say it may be somewhat the same, or it is somewhat the same, but due to faith, it seems like people that are very faithful, very spiritual people have an easier time transitioning to it, or accepting all the love, or accepting really what's over there. It seems like everybody does go to the same place. I'm sure there's many different neighborhoods in spirit, just like there are here.
Yeah.
I mean, spirit is very much like this world. It's just in spirit. It's really very similar, but everything's more vibrant, everything's more beautiful, everything's more peaceful. However, it does seem that when I do readings with people, a lot of the really, I mean, everybody, there's always somebody that comes through. However, but the really strong, passionate readings are the people that have a really strong faith in God and love God. And I think the transition to the other side probably is a little bit easier for them.
What do you say to the naysayers? For example, Harry Houdini, I'm sure you're very familiar with this example. When he died, he basically told his wife, I think it was a 10-word phrase, that he definitely had to hear from that medium after he passed on, and that way his wife would know that it was him communicating. Well, his wife never got those 10 words, so it kind of put a little bit of a question to the I guess the legitimacy of what mediums do. Do you want to explain that at all, or can you give a reason why that might have happened, or you want to just say that might be a specific example of one thing just going wrong?
Well, it all depends. I think it's when you have communication taking place, it's the work of the medium. We all kind of have to work together. The medium has to raise their energy, and he may be trying to come through, but it might be just at that particular time. Maybe, I don't know exactly who the medium was or whomever it is, that the connection wasn't taking place. Doesn't mean that it could never happen. It doesn't mean that, now a lot of times too, I have to tell you too, is a lot of times the souls will want to communicate in their way through, or talk in their way. And if they want a specific piece of information that needs to come through, they may have a roundabout way of sending it through.
Well, Elizabeth, we're out of time. It went so quickly. Please come back and join us again.
Okay.
I have so much more to talk to you about, and it just always goes like that every time. Really good to see you again.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks. It was wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. Here's Elizabeth's contact information. She is doing an Introduction to Spirit workshop on July 15th and September 23rd. Most likely they will sell out, so make sure you make a phone call sooner than later. 215-872-9550 is the phone number to call, or you can check her out on the web. It's ElizabethHerrington.com.